Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is just a quick preview for Leigh Wood versus Michael Conlan, and also I'll preview the undercard as well ever so briefly. Of course, this fight is taking place on the 12th of March. Takes place at the Nottingham Arena in the UK and will be televised on DAZN both in the USA and in the UK. And I have to say, I actually think this is quite an interesting featherweight fight between Leigh Wood and Michael Conlan. Of course, Leigh Wood in this fight will be defending his WBA featherweight title. He won that title in his last fight against Kanzu, a fight in which he was expected to lose, but it turned out he put in a career best performance and won that title. And Leigh Wood in his last couple of fights has really turned around his fortunes, and he's improving as a fighter. And I have to say, I think he's found the right trainer in Ben Davison. I'm not personally sold on Davison as a trainer, but he's clearly clicking with Leigh Wood, so that relationship appears to be fruitful right now. And yeah, Leigh Wood is definitely coming into this fight with great form and great momentum. Michael Conlan, of course, standout amateur, always did well in the amateurs, very skilled in that format, but as a pro, while he's not really been under any serious threat, he's kind of stumbled through his pro career so far. He's never really put on any outstanding performances, but he's winning his fights. He's winning his fights quite handily. But, you know, the thing with Michael Conlan for me, and I think a lot of other people, is that he still fights with that amateur style, almost like a point scoring style. And you do wonder whether that will work as he steps up the levels in the pro ranks. But, you know, Michael Conlan coming from great amateur pedigree. And yeah, put these two guys together, I think it's going to be a really interesting fight. I would say Leigh Wood, naturally his style is being a boxer-puncher. He can counter. He's got decent basic fundamentals with decent power. Whereas Michael Conlan, like I said, is purely a point fighter. He likes to keep you at arm's length, dictate from range, and basically pick you off, and pile up the points. So it's a battle of two contrasting styles, and it's a weird one because, me personally, I find this fight very hard to predict. If you asked me before Leigh Wood beat Kanzu, who wins this fight, I would say Michael Conlan quite confidently. But of course, since then, you know, Leigh Wood looked really good in that Kanzu fight, so I'm not quite so sure now. I will still say this: if this fight was in Ireland, I would pick Conlan. If this fight was on neutral territory, I would pick Conlan, but this fight is in the UK, and more importantly, it's in Nottingham, the hometown of Leigh Wood. So Michael Conlan in this fight is going to maybe have to do a bit more to be guaranteed a decision. And if Leigh Wood can make this fight close, let's say for example he loses 7 rounds to 5 on most fan scorecards, chances are Leigh Wood will still get the decision. So Michael Conlan definitely needs to up the levels in this fight in terms of aggression, in terms of punch output, because he can't afford to make this fight close. Even if we think he wins this fight and it's close, there's a high likelihood that he won't get the decision. Again, another factor to consider is that Leigh Wood is a matchroom fighter, whereas Michael Conlan is with Top Rank. So again, not only is Conlan the away fighter, he's also coming in from a different promotional outfit as well. So yeah, Michael Conlan, he can't afford to leave any stone unturned in this fight. So I'm expecting to see a more active Michael Conlan in terms of punch output. I expect to see Michael Conlan be a little more aggressive than usual. He can do that at times. Michael Conlan does like to dig to the body. He likes to get to mid-range and throw those hooks to the body and try and push you back. Primarily he is a boxer type who likes to keep on the outside, but he can mix it up when he needs to, and I think he'll need to do that in this fight. You know, just do a bit more than he usually does, kind of thing. Whereas Leigh Wood, he is the boxer puncher here. He needs to try and test that chin early of Michael Conlan. If you look at Michael Conlan's career so far in the pros, he's not really been subjected to fighting any punchers. Nobody's really tested his chin to any great degree. So if I was Leigh Wood, I'd be coming out quite quick behind that jab, trying to maintain range while coming forwards, and I'd be trying to crack Michael Conlan early on to see what that chin's made of. And of course, on top of that, get the respect of Michael Conlan. Not only does Leigh Wood have the hometown advantage in this fight, the crowd's going to be on his side. That in itself could be discouraging to Michael Conlan, but if he starts well, cracks him with some good shots early, makes him feel the power, then at that point Michael Conlan could really be second guessing himself. But the key for Leigh Wood, in my opinion, is not to allow Michael Conlan to settle into a rhythm where he can quieten the crowd down and fight the fight at his pace. Leigh Wood needs to make Michael Conlan feel uncomfortable in this fight, away from home, of course, and he needs to build on that and play on that. You know, make it a rough fight kind of thing. But it's interesting because in a boxing match, if Leigh Wood boxes with Michael Conlan, I think Leigh Wood loses, but of course he's got that power. So yeah, I think Leigh needs to be, again, he needs to change his style a little bit as well and just be more aggressive in this fight and try to push Michael back with that jab and look for that straight right hand behind it, try and catch him with a big shot. But stylistically, I think this one is really interesting. When you put a pure boxer in with a boxer puncher, those sort of fights can be very intriguing. I'd expect maybe some low output rounds in this fight, given the two styles, but it's up to Leigh Wood to really kind of negate that and not to let that happen. But quite frankly, if you're asking me who's going to win this fight, I think I'm going to go with Michael Conlan. I see most people are picking Leigh Wood to win this fight, and I see why. It's that, you know, it's in his hometown. He's coming off a career best win, etc. I see why people are picking Leigh Wood. But again, before the Kanzu fight, would anybody pick would anybody pick Leigh Wood to beat Michael Conlan? I don't think so. Listen, that Kanzu win was very impressive. Again, Kanzu was favourite. But in retrospect, how good was Kanzu? What position was he at in his career? You know, he didn't look great on that night for whatever reason. So is that fight a bit of a mirage? I'm not sure. Because I'll tell you this, if Michael Conlan is able to dictate the pace of this fight, dictate the range, keep on the back foot, you know, and not let Leigh Wood set, Michael Conlan absolutely wins this fight on points, in my opinion. Maybe even by late stoppage, because Leigh Wood doesn't have a great chin. People have to remember that. Leigh Wood has been hurt. He has been stopped against non-punchers. For example, I'm pretty sure I remember him getting knocked out by Gavin McDonnell a few years back. Yeah, there you go. He got knocked out by Gavin McDonnell. So I don't think Leigh Wood's got a great chin. So don't be surprised if Michael can hurt Leigh Wood. But I'm gonna go with Michael Conlan on points in this fight. Might be a controversial pick. I know most people are picking Leigh Wood, but I'm going with Michael Conlan. On the undercard, you have an interesting fight between Gary Cully and Miguel Vasquez. Miguel Vasquez, of course, these days he's a journeyman, well, a gatekeeper kind of thing. But back in the day, he was a long-reigning IBF champion in the lightweight division. He's extremely awkward, extremely tricky, has a good chin, all of the experience in the world, and he's one of those type of guys who he can really make a prospect look bad. So we'll see we'll see what Gary Cully is made of in this fight. Gary Cully is a very big lightweight. He's like 6'1", something like that. He's a tall, rangy guy, a bit of power in his straight punches, quite an exciting style, and this is a good test for Gary Cully. That's a good bit of matchmaking, to be honest. I quite like this fight right here. Gary Cully versus Miguel Vasquez. We also have the return of Terry Harper. I'm not interested whatsoever in that. And we also have the return of middleweight prospect Kameen Agyarko. I know I butchered that first name, but he's an Irish prospect at middleweight. He looks pretty good. He's a heavy-handed guy, got a fun style, and he's fighting Juan Carlos Rubio for a WBA trinket. We'll see how Agyarko looks. And on the undercard, you then have a series of prospects. Sandy Ryan, not interested. Thomas Whitaker Hart, I don't rate him, quite frankly. Thomas Carty, he's an Irish heavyweight. Not a big heavyweight, to be honest, but he had a relatively decent amateur pedigree. He's just starting his career, only 2-0, southpaw. So we'll see what Thomas Carty can do. I know he's been sparring with Anthony Joshua previously, so yeah, we'll see how Thomas Carty looks. But again, the little I have seen of him, I mean, I don't think he'll go all that far, quite frankly. But, you know, I mean, if you look at the undercard, it's quite weak. I mean, quite frankly, the only undercard fight I have an interest in is Gary Cully versus Miguel Vasquez. I think that's a decent fight, especially considering the stage of Gary Cully's career. But this card really is just about the main event between Leigh Wood and Michael Conlan. And, you know, I have Michael Conlan on points in this fight. I've got Michael Conlan on points. So, how do you see this fight going? Are you picking the hometown guy, Leigh Wood, or are you picking Michael Conlan? Share your thoughts below.